What's going on, guys? Sam Adams here, and welcome to The Drop, which is a weekly series I do right here on the YouTube channel in video form every single Monday, and this week we're starting something new, because I'm actually posting a written version of The Drop to my Medium page, and you can follow me on Twitter, and I'll post a link to that every single Sunday morning around 5:30 or so, if I do tend to keep up with it. But pretty much it's just going to be a more in-depth version of The Drop in a written format, so if you wanted to see how I normally write some things, if you wanted to start following me whenever I do write some things, you can follow me on Medium, you can follow me on Twitter. Either way, you're going to be getting that version of The Drop in addition to this one every single week from here on out. But now, what kind of games are we going to be talking about today? We have a game called Unravel coming to us from EA. We have a game called Firewatch, which is supposed to be one of the PlayStation 4's biggest indie games of the year, in addition to a couple of other things that I thought were worth mentioning. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. So first off, we have Firewatch coming to the PC and the PlayStation 4, in which you play as a man named Henry, who has pretty much abandoned his former life to become somewhat of a forest ranger in the middle of Wyoming, who pretty much just has to look for smoke signals and protect his surrounding forest. And as you can imagine, that's a pretty solitary life, and his only real connection to the outside world is through his radio, on which he can communicate with his supervisor Delilah, who he begins forming a little bit of a relationship with while they talk throughout the entire game. So if the trailer is anything to go on, you go start to look around and you see that a phone line has been cut, so you pretty much have no connection to the outside world other than through your radio. And then Delilah asks, "Are you in your tower?" And so you're like, "No, I'm out here wandering around." And she goes, "Well, who's in your tower?" And so that's when the mystery starts to unfold, and the rest of the game is pretty much you having to leave the tower and actually go wander through the woods and try and figure out what's going on. To be honest, it sounds like a pretty interesting storyline. Now, the appearance of this game is what really drug me in and what's really going to entice me to play it, because it does have a certain level of realism with the graphic side of things. It looks like a pretty good game as far as the environment goes, but whenever you look down at hands and stuff, it kind of has a blocky appearance, almost like some kind of cell shaded almost, but a 3D version of that. It's a very interesting balance between a realistic look and an animated blocky look, and I really enjoy the way that this game is kind of shaping up, and I do think that it's going to be one of the best indie games of this year, and I'm kind of shocked that it's not coming to Xbox One as soon as it's released, but I guess PlayStation got in that game early. So in addition to this, there has been some bad publicity about the game. It's only about 6 hours long according to the developers, and that's still unclear if it's just playing through the campaign or if it's playing through everything you can do in the game. So depending on that, this one might not be the worth the face value of $20, but it still looks like a great game. It still looks like it's going to have a pretty interesting storyline, and I do hope that it ends up well, because this is one of those games that I've been watching for a couple of years now, or at least probably about a year or so. And I've really looked forward to this game, so I do hope that things turn out well for Firewatch, which is coming to the PC and the PlayStation 4 this week. So next up, we have Assassin's Creed Chronicles Russia coming to the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC, and this is the third of 3 side-scrolling Assassin's Creed platformers to be released on the newest generation of consoles, and it's pretty much a 2.5-dimensional game in which you can jump in and out of the foreground to hide from enemies and tactfully take down your opponents while traversing the environment. And I have played China, I played all the way through China, and I thought that it was pretty good. I have it on both the PlayStation 4 and the PC, and it has a certain feel about it that's definitely not an Assassin's Creed game, but it does kind of put a nice little twist on the platformer, and you will enjoy it if you are a hardcore Assassin's Creed fan, because there is a good bit of lore within each individual game, so to speak. So pretty much we saw the exact same kind of idea played out in both Assassin's Creed Chronicles China and Assassin's Creed Chronicles India, but what make the 3 unique from each other is the fact that each has a different kind of art style. For instance, this Russia entry into the Assassin's Creed Chronicles sub-franchise somewhat is pretty much a cel-shaded art appearance, as opposed to the Indian hand-drawn appearance and the China pretty much just standard kind of, I don't want to say okami look to it. It has that art, or the Asian art style, the Chinese art style, and it actually complemented the game pretty well. But each one has an individual kind of art style that does make it stand out from the other entries into the franchise, and that's a pretty good thing, because it would get really old if they all were just extremely realistic, or if they all had the same kind of art style. So if you want to play all 3 of these and you've never played any of them before, you can actually purchase all 3 together in the one physical Assassin's Creed Chronicles for $29.99. So for the most part, they're all relatively fun. I have to say that if you're looking for a platformer, it's a pretty good platformer. If you're into Assassin's Creed and you want to kind of change up the game a little bit, then you'll probably like that. Or if there's a combination of those 2 characteristics that you fit into, you're probably going to enjoy this. Though if you are looking for an Assassin's Creed game, this is not the one for you. Next up, we have Unravel coming to the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC, and this is an extremely charming little platformer in which you play as Yarny, who is completely made from one roll of yarn that has fallen out of this grandmother figure's basket, and throughout the entire game you're using the yarn that falls off of Yarny to pretty much traverse the environment. You're grabbing onto tree branches, you're bridging gaps, you're just kind of doing platformer things with Yarny's yarn, and it's a pretty good idea, I have to admit. So this is one of the few games that EA showed off in 2015 that actually really surprised me, because it doesn't feel like a game where they're just trying to make money off of it. This is truly a passion project, as many quotes from the developers have actually mentioned, and I really like seeing that, especially from EA, and the appearance of the game is what really drug me in, because it is extremely realistic. It has the graphics of, I would say, the cutscenes from a Battlefield. Like, that's kind of the way the game looks, that's how the human models actually look, and of course that's how the surrounding world actually looks. But then you have Yarny, who's this like really out of place yarn-filled character that just doesn't look like he fits in the world at all, and I think that contrast really complements the art in the game as a whole. So as far as the gameplay goes, what can you expect from Unravel? Pretty much the exact same thing as Little Big Planet, at least that's what it looks like in the trailer to me, except you're not just going to be jumping from platform to platform, you're kind of a Spider-Man with yarn, so to speak. At least that's what it looks like from my experience with the trailer, but it definitely looks beautiful. It looks like the puzzles are going to be fun to solve, and it looks like it is going to have some kind of emotionally impacting story that really hits you hard in the end. And so all of those three things together really make me excited to play Unravel at some point this year, and if you are excited about it, then you can pick it up on the PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One this week. So last but not least, we have Dying Light, the following enhanced edition, coming to the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC, and this is actually a game that we talked about last week on the drop, but I thought that it was worth mentioning because it is technically hitting store shelves this week in addition to last week. So pretty much within Dying Light, the following enhanced edition, you're getting three kinds of things. First off, you're getting the original Dying Light game that came out last January, and that's already a pretty big game. It's pretty much a zombie survival game, but parkour plays a big role in it, and melee weapons are a big role in it, and it's a very interesting game that uses night as kind of a threat to the player. It's just it's an enthralling game, I have to admit, and I'm definitely going to go back and finish it. So you get that experience. Then you get all of the DLC that came out for that base game, so that's a lot of content right there. And then in addition to that, you get the following, which is the DLC pack that actually hit last week, which is supposed to be 2 times the size of the original base game. It comes with an entirely new story, a new vehicle kind of thing that you can actually use within the game to traverse the environment that wasn't included in the base game, and of course an entirely new protagonist. So it's pretty much an entirely new story. So for $59.99, you're not only getting one of the best games of 2015, at least that's what a lot of people are calling it, in addition to all the DLC for that game, you're also getting pretty much an entire second game. So there is a lot of value with this, and if you're looking for a new zombie survival game, if you like the parkour kind of thing that Mirror's Edge is showing off, or showed off back in the day in the first Mirror's Edge, then you're probably going to like Dying Light, the following enhanced edition, which is coming to the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC for $59.99. So there you guys have it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, drop me a like down below and comment what games you're going to be picking up this week and what platform you actually play on. Are you looking forward to Firewatch on the PlayStation 4? Have you been looking forward to playing Unravel on whatever you might be playing that on? Do you love Assassin's Creed Chronicles as a sub-franchise to the Assassin's Creed world as a whole? Let me know what you think in the comments section down below, and if you are new to the channel or you've never seen any of my other videos, I do upload new content like 3 or 4 days a week, so there's always something new right here on the channel when you drop by to watch some videos. And as always, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for watching this particular video. Subscribe if you enjoyed for more, and peace.